Gather around, people. It's damn good to have you here for a Saturday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am your host this morning, Emerson Latzia, surrounded by some of the usual suspects, Josh Applebaum, Julian Edlow, and very special guest this morning, analyst, huge bettor, social media personality, host of the All In podcast, Marco Piemonte. What's up, dude?
I paid for that hype up. It cost me $100 this morning, but it's early. It's okay.
Did I forget anything?
You know what? I'm so happy you didn't call me $1 Million Marco.
Okay.
I hate the name.
All right, good. We will not call you that for the next 2 hours, I promise. So let's rock here, people. Here's what I need you guys to gear up for. Here's what's coming up in this show for the next 120 minutes. College football best bets, not the strongest slates, but two games with a big impact on the ACC and Pac-12 championship races. A ridiculously fun game, one of the World Series last night. What to expect in game 2 tonight, plus what our guys are wagering on throughout the NBA today. But let's start with some NFL overreaction because we love to do that around here. Week 8 kicking off Thursday night in Buffalo here, gentlemen. The panic meter going down just a wee bit, but the Bills still not fully back. Shout out to the Bucs for the backdoor cover, by the way. A lot of good for the Bills, still some bad. An ugly interception, a red zone failure, punts galore in the second half. As a bettor, Marco, what has you concerned about the Bills right now?
I think it's their lack of red zone conversions.
For
Them
sure.
not doing the tush-push with a quarterback that's built like a monster is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I was shocked. But they did the tush-push the next drive to get a first down. I'm anticipating some interesting road ahead for the Bills. I don't love it.
Yeah, that's true. They had 3rd and goal from the one, then it was the end of the quarter. They open up the second quarter with the same thing, and then they throw to the flats. And Jules, those kind of mistakes are going to crush them in this meaty part of the schedule coming up if they can't convert.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a part of it is with, if we're going to talk play call, Brian Daboll. He was somebody that Josh Allen thrived under, and since he's been gone, I think we've seen Allen decline a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit, and the play calling and the ability to use Allen decline a little bit. And you add all those things together with a defense that isn't all that elite, and the Bills look beatable. So are they better than most teams in the NFL? Yes. Am I going to put them on the level of teams that I think are Super Bowl contenders, that Chiefs Eagles level? No. So I think that we learned that the Bills are kind of in the mix, very good team, but we've seen these last few weeks that Buffalo is not on that elite level by any means.
Do you agree with that? Not an elite team right now in the NFL?
I would agree with that. I think they're a good team. I wouldn't call them elite. I'll look at it from a betting perspective, though. Emerson, couple things. Unders this year continue to cash. We saw it by the very, very fine razor margin here. It was 43. It landed on 42. Obviously, it was a great backdoor cover. If you had the Bucs, it was a terrible, awful bad beat if you had the Bills laying the points there. But unders, unders, unders. They're now on the year 65 and 41, 61%. Non-conference unders, two teams, two different divisions, 22 and 11, 67%. And primetime unders. When you get to those big Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night games, take the under. It's a contrarian play. It may not feel fun to sweat, but it's fun if you cash it. They're now 15 and 7 primetime under, 68%. So I am worried about the Bills. Obviously, they don't really do much against the Patriots. You blow that lead late. I think it's their defense. Too many injuries. White,
Yeah,
Milano.
huge injuries on that side of the ball.
And I think it's really starting to catch up. So it makes Josh Allen feel like he's got to do too much there.
Yep.
Emerson, their adjusted win total is now 10.5 under -160. I would take the under there. They have a really tough schedule upcoming. Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. They're only -1 at the Bengals. Allen's great. I'm worried about the defense. I'd take under 10.5.
Yeah, Marco, plus 190 to win the division, plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. Any interest in either one of those?
I'm not a Bills bandwagon guy.
Yeah.
I can't get on.
Not a member of Bills Mafia here. You're not smashing tables.
I love their secondary, but
Okay.
the problem is I don't love anything else. I mean, you can't depend on Josh Allen to just carry everything home. You
I
just
know.
can't.
And they're starting to use them a lot more on the ground, which we've seen them have more success with like over the past couple of seasons. As for the Bucs, hot start, right? 3-1 out of the gates, Jules. I mean, this remains like a bad division, though. Where are they in the NFC South title conversation for you? Everyone seems to be in the mix, right, except the Panthers?
Yeah, those top three teams are going to be in the mix. Look, you've got a winless Panthers team who maybe is in a good spot this weekend. We'll talk about that, whether it's today or tomorrow on the show. And the rest of the three teams are going to be in the mix. This is still a division that we had a team under 500 with Tom Brady go to the postseason last year. So The Falcons are going to be in the mix. The Saints are going to be in the mix. The Bucs are going to remain in the mix all season because you mentioned this 3-game losing streak, Emerson. Well, the Saints and Falcons probably have 3-game losing streaks somewhere in there this season, and it all evens out. And those teams are all going to be right around 8 and 9, and we'll see who wins that division gets in. But that's just what the NFC South is right now.
Yeah, it is. Saints are on the decline as well, Marco.
I've got an NFC South. I think this is a lock. And you said decline. I think the Saints are fine. I think the Saints are going to come back this week.
That's who I have. That's who I bet preseason, so I'm hoping you're right. They should be the best team, right?
I believe in their offense. I like Derek Carr. I think I like Derek Carr too much. I've always been on his wagon, but I believe that he's actually going to take the next step here, and I think he's going to get comfortable within their offense. Kamara wasn't there in the beginning of the season.
He dumps it off to Kamara 15 times a game, which is great for fantasy purposes.
It's not getting wins.
Yeah.
This week it is.
This week it is.
Colts.
Okay. Bucks plus 500 to win the NFC South right now.
I'm gonna lay off that one.
No?
Emerson.
Okay.
Yeah, not a huge believer.
Falcons the favorite currently, minus 155.
Yeah, and you had a good start with the Bucs, 3-4. Baker played well late. I think Baker's kind of regressing here to the mean. They're only averaging 17 points a game. I think if you were sweating the over in that primetime game, you're just looking for offense and really not getting it. Tampa Bay's adjusted win total is now 7.5. Look at these other teams. I'm kind of with Marco here. I think the Saints overall best defense, veteran quarterback. Obviously, you get the advantage there in the dome. But what's interesting to me is that Saints are 8.5 adjusted win total. The Falcons are 9.5. Now, the under is minus 120, but the Falcons are a team that a lot of wise guys liked over the summer. I think their win total, I want to say it was like 8.5 up to 9, but it got steamed quite a bit over the summer. Panthers, obviously, we don't expect much of them. Julian's right, though. They look a little bit sharp this weekend. I still kind of lean Falcons to win this division.
Yeah, there's some folks out there, some analysts say maybe this is the first and last season for Baker Mayfield under center, just because of the strong quarterback class too that the Bucs may have to choose from. Not many quarterback questions originally for the Cleveland Browns. That was Deshaun Watson. He got that massive deal, but he is out again for Cleveland this week as the Browns will hit the road. They'll face the Seahawks here. Michael Lombardi says the Browns are just protecting him right now and this massive investment that they have. P.J. Walker has the Browns 2-0 in the last 2 games. But my God, if you look at those stats there, Marco, he has not been great. He's thrown 3 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, 50% completion percentage, really in the 2 games that he's played. And that defense, though, is really what's been helping Cleveland. What chance are you giving the Browns here against the Seahawks this weekend?
So I'm a little uncomfortable that the line is 3.5 for the Seahawks. It should be more.
Yeah.
P.J. Walker on the road statistically has never been great.
Yes.
So I believe that if they're going to win this, it's going to be through defense. So I guess if you're betting the Browns, you probably like the under. But in the same token, I believe that this is the Browns' game to win. I think that their defense is going to will them. They're going to give them good field position. And just maybe, P.J. Walker won't have to throw for a ton. They're going to depend on that run game.
It's been pretty unsettling, the play by the Browns here, Josh.
It has, and I mean, again, you go back a couple weeks, they shocked the 49ers. That really showed me a lot. Their defense is great. Myles Garrett, I believe, is plus 200 defensive player of the year. I think he's tied with Micah Parsons. P.J. Walker, you give him credit. He's won both of his starts here, 2-0. You beat the Colts, you beat the 49ers. What's interesting, though, I'm kind of with Marco. It feels like you kind of want to take the points with Cleveland, but this line did go to Seattle. It opened minus 1.5. They're up to 3.5. Those non-conference games, I typically lean favorite just because of the lack of familiarity. I would just say in terms of P.J. Walker, to throw a pick, 1 pick, Emerson, over a half, minus 230. So that's pretty steep, kind of too expensive for me.
Wow. That's a juicy.
That's a parlay
that's a
piece at that
juicy.
point.
Yeah, but I would say under 201.5 yards. It's juiced up under. He's thrown for 192, 178. Seattle held last 2 quarterbacks, Dobbs and Burrow, to 146 and 145. So I'd lean under 201.5 yards for Walker.
Okay, so there are also some people who will make an argument. There may not be that much of a drop-off from Deshaun Watson to P.J. Walker. Some are making the same argument when it comes to Brock Purdy, Jules. Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. Now, as of early this morning, it looks like Brock Purdy could clear concussion protocol by this weekend's game here. So maybe we don't see Sam Darnold under center. But how much does it matter who is playing quarterback against Cincinnati this weekend for the 49ers?
I don't think it matters all that much. I don't think it matters as much as the point spread is going to dictate that it matters. So we're going to see line movement. We've seen this come down a lot with Purdy being questionable, we'll call it. And that's going to move adjusting on whether Purdy's announced in or out. So the market is saying he has value. I don't necessarily believe that Purdy has that much value. I think Sam Darnold, we've seen him in some really bad situations. We're going to see him in a good situation. I think he can manage the way Purdy does. So I don't think the quarterback situation for the Niners does much for me if I were betting that game.
Okay, Marco, what about you? So we have the 49ers that have lost 2 in a row. A team that good usually does not lose 3 straight.
The problem I have is I'm on the same page with my partner over here on everything, and it's scaring me. I feel like we're on the same script.
It should scare you to be on the same page.
Yeah, the way you guys abused them before the show, I'm like, oh my God.
The Bengals need a win too. Like, they're making up ground for that bad start.
I believe that this is a Bengals win. I'm all in on this. I like this play. This is actually a big play for me this week personally. This is definitely a 5-figure play, and I do gamble very large. And when I say 5 figures, I feel very confident in that play.
Okay, wow. What's your confidence
You're gonna like
level
this.
here?
Joe Burrow as a dog. You know his ATS record?
What is it?
Oh, it's
16-8 against the spread,
yeah.
67%.
And
So
I'm looking at
give me
the
some
money.
juice if you cash that 100K bet.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the money line right now, and I'm looking at the juice total because the DK app does provide you where money's at.
Okay.
And it's showing 59% of the people are on the money line for the Niners.
All right, gentlemen, we need to take a break here. We're going to poke over to the World Series Game 2. Which bets you guys like after a thrilling Game 1 last night?
Primero que todo, gracias a Dios First of all, thanks to God, who's been there with me ever since day one. He's helped me up throughout this process. And then also just, the hard work and effort that I've put in, to try to get to this point. Like I said, just very happy, to have the opportunity to have, be in the history books. But like I said as well, it's just when I'm in the batter's box, I'm just focused, and I tune out everything, every other noise, and I'm just focused on the situation.
Game one hero Adolis Garcia is a bad, bad man. How about that last night for a finish? Little walk-off tater sending people home in a frenzy. We're talking in the 11th inning.
Can you imagine the energy there? Like, honestly,
It
in
looked
the park.
insane.
I mean, the energy had to be wild.
Yeah, and let's not sleep on Corey Seager, right, in the ninth, who sent the 2-run bomb out to the people, presence of the people, to send this thing to extras, Josh?
Yeah, unbelievable. And, personally, for those of us who are on the Diamondbacks, like myself, that was backbreaking last night. You're up at a good, line move to open the game. I think they were at one point like plus 150 down to plus 140. Public was on Texas, line went to Zona. You're looking good, but, Marco made a good point. If you're in that situation where you're on a dog and things are looking in your favor, do you hedge a little bit? Marco was mentioning it was like 6-1 there on Texas to come back. Now, the bats of Texas are incredible. Even when you hold them down, they can get to you. But also, when you're winning and looking good and up 5-3, and you have a great bullpen here who's been shut down all postseason, how do you kind of go against that? So, obviously, happy for those who had Texas. For me and the D-backs, tough one last night.
Garcia's just been swinging this hot bat.
What is it, 22 RBIs to the postseason so
Yeah,
far?
I mean, he set a record last night.
I
like
genuinely
most in the
believe that
postseason.
this Texas team almost feels destined to win.
Okay. What's crazy too, Marco, is the fact that this was a team that spent like $1 bajillion to build out this roster, and they almost didn't make the postseason, for crying out loud. It was really the Mariners' collapse that helped them, right?
They got hot late and they figured it out. I believe that the next game is going to determine how this series goes. If they go up 2-0, I think they win 4-1, and it's the fastest World Series we could think of.
Okay, I like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the updated series price, it was minus 170 Texas going into game one. Now it's up to minus 295. So that tells you that getting that game one obviously was huge for the Texas Rangers. I think just in terms of baseball, I'm a Red Sox fan.
Yeah,
I don't want the D-backs to win, because then all these bigger clubs are going to say, "Oh, we don't have to spend money. We can just, get into the tournament and, make
Bro, the
some
Red
noise."
Sox are never spending money again. Get over it.
Craig Bressel,
okay?
welcome to
Are
Boston.
you a Red Sox fan?
I'm a Red Sox fan.
You know, the Tampa
I'm
Bay
a Cubs
Rays
and a
are the-
Sox fan, and they both suck. So how's that feel?
Well, I want teams to spend money. I want Texas to win because it shows
Absolutely.
you that if you have a fan base, you care, you have ownership that's willing to spend money. Obviously, I don't want the winner to always be the team with the highest payroll, but I think for big market clubs, it's a bad thing for baseball if these small teams get in and win.
You want Shohei here. That's what
Absolutely.
you want.
I want Yamamoto from Japan.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I'm
By the
looking
way, if you're thinking Rangers win tonight and they go on to win this thing 4-1, you can get plus 360 odds right now if you want to call series correct score on the DK Sportsbook. So really, it felt like last night, guys, the biggest difference maker was really like the power here. That's the biggest difference between these two teams, because Diamondbacks are more like small ball here, right? And then you've got the Rangers with just those power bats, and power ends up taking game one there, Marco.
It does. My favorite bet for this game 2 is going to be the under.
Okay.
And it's an adjusted under. Adjusted under 9 at minus 137. I love the value here. I think both teams came out hot, and I believe that the pitching is going to take over. Montgomery's looked great as of late. And I'm going to be honest, I've always loved Arizona's pitching. So Merrill Kelly's going to jump in. I believe he's going to have a good game. So I like under 9, lock it in. And it looks like it's already trending. People are betting the over. So I think you're going to be looking at a really easy win there.
I mean, Josh, for a Rangers prop, Garcia is hot. Would you potentially back him here to hit another home run? Because after delivering 5 home runs in the final 4 games of the ALCS to lead Texas to this stage, the World Series, Garcia has extended now his home run streak to 5 freaking straight games.
Yeah, it's been incredible here. So obviously this is going to be one of the most popular bets, and I can't really blame anyone making this play here. Even a lot of Seager, over, runs, hits, RBIs, like in 1.5 maybe. In terms of the game odds here, I'm going to go back to Arizona. I know it's kind of, banging your head against the wall and expecting a different result, but it's kind of the same bet split and line movement from game one. You had this game for tonight, open Texas minus 160. They're getting around 75% of bets at DraftKings, but yet the line is creeping down toward minus 150. So the line is going to Arizona. And we have seen these dogs do very well this postseason. Even though you saw Arizona blow it last night, dogs in the postseason are now 25-12, 68%. They've been really, really good. In terms of a prop bet, Emerson, I'm going to go to Jordan Montgomery. He has been great this playoffs. 3-0, 2.16 ERA. He's probably due for a big contract in the offseason. But I noticed one thing. His over hits allowed, 4.5. The over's minus 170. He could pitch a great game, but give up a few singles. He's 4-1 to the over, so he's given up 5 hits or more in 4 of his 5 postseason starts. Last game against Houston, he only went 2.1 innings, gave up 3 hits, but that just jumped out to me. A guy who's been great in the postseason, yet the odds makers are juicing up his over 4.5 hits. I'll bet that. I'll take the minus 170. I'll bank on Montgomery giving up 5 hits or more.
Okay, I mean, Marco, despite the loss, too, you had guys like Carroll and Marte, like, still making their presence felt with, what, if we want to talk fantasy points here, like 14 fantasy points. So a player prop on the D-back side that kind of catches your eye right now.
I've got it. Emmanuel Rivera over his hit total. It's a half right now at minus 170. I think the moment was a little bit big for this team. I think that they're going to figure this out. I really believe that this team is going to kind of be like, the moment's not too big anymore.
Okay.
And they're going to figure it out. And I think this is this guy, Emmanuel Rivera, over a hit.
I mean, for much of game one, the D-backs were the better team, Josh. Like, they played a good game before the bullpen ended up having its first real meltdown of October.
Yeah, and one thing we've learned about this D-backs team, Emerson, is they're very resilient, and they kind of play that role very well. Torey Lovello, obviously the whole thing with Mad Dog Russo, where Mad Dog said if they beat the Phillies, he's going to retire. Well, he definitely is not retired.
Why throw those things out there?
You can't talk like that and not back it up.
Yes.
You got to get out.
I love it when he goes Belichick. That's my favorite Mad Dog Russo of all time.
The New York media was so fired up going after Christopher Mad Dog Russo's head. You can't throw those things out there and not back it up. And I'm like, but if you're trying to be funny, throw something else out there. Like, oh, you know, walk around.
Like, I'll take a pie to the
dress.
I'll get a tattoo. I'll do
well,
this.
I mean, tattoos, you know, that'll last
you can
forever,
hide that
too.
forever. I mean, you can hide
okay, yeah. So you go on the back.
Yeah, on the
make
back.
it like a different kind of stamp.
I would say one prop bet though,
Yes.
Emerson. Let's go to the other pitcher, Merrill Kelly here. He's been good in the postseason too. 2-1, 2.65 ERA. Go to a strikeout prop. Can he give you 5 Ks today? I think it's doable. Over 4.5 is at minus 115. A little bit of juice liability there. He's 3-0 to the over this postseason. In 3 starts, he struck out 5, 6, and 8. And again, these Texas Rangers hitters, they can be boom or bust. They can take your yard, but they can swing and miss a few times here too. I like Kelly to get 5 Ks today.
Okay, so again, total 8.5. You said, Marco, looks like people are starting to really like the over. You've already said you like the under.
Under. I'm diving head first.
What direction do you want
This
to go in?
is a tough
here,
one.
Josh?
I actually kind of lean over a little bit.
Oh,
it was 8.5.
look at this, finally.
And my bet size is much smaller than yours, just so you know. But,
You peasant.
The over 8.5, it is juiced up, minus 115. Marco made a good point. Pay attention to juice movement. It's going to tell you not just what you have to pay, but where the next move might go. So it's looking like this may get up to 9. That means if you like the over, hit it now. If you like the under, wait, get that under 9. But what jumped out to me is Globe Life Park. Now, historically, you look at domes or closed roof stadiums, it's typically a good under situation, but for whatever reason, Globe Life is a big over park. I'm not really sure what it is, but they're 50-32 to the over at Globe Life, 61%, 3-1 to the over this playoffs. Only Tropicana, ironically, another dome is better than that. It's a 50-50 bet split, yet liability's over. Again, I lean over 8.5, but I'll be putting a unit much smaller than yours on that one.
Okay, what do you got?
I got something here.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been to that stadium.
Okay.
And
So
it is-
why? Why is it a hitter's park?
You guys, the clarity in the park is unbelievable. It's unmatched.
This is the brand new park they built a couple seasons
Yes,
ago, right?
and it's the clarity. Like wherever you're at, you see the ball so well. So I think these hitters really do see the ball well there. I don't think that there's any like distractions. It's just such a beautiful, nice place to play. I think that might be why. When I was there, I was in shock. As a baseball player, playing at IMG Academy, traveling the country playing baseball, I was like, I would love to be a hitter here. And I feel like that's how it looks.
I mean, hell, you saw the swing last night by Garcia. He went down and got that
And
thing.
put it over.
Oppo.
I mean, Oppo, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other game bet that stands out to you in this one, Josh? Whether you'd be betting it or are you seeing any kind of movement there in the DK Sportsbook?
So to me, I'm looking at that over again just because it's juiced
Okay.
up and may go to 9. And then also Arizona. I just think in this situation, don't dance on the grave of Arizona yet. They've been a team that when they get down, they show resilience. I think it would be classic Arizona to come back and win this one today. And again, it's the same breakdown as yesterday. Arizona just blew the late lead. You started minus 160. The line's dropping away from Texas. I'd take another shot on Arizona.
I'll give you an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'm clicking through. I always try and find something that stands out. Jordan Montgomery to throw for walks. His walk prop is 1.5 at plus 105. I'm sorry, but I like him to throw 2 walks today. I haven't been looking at this. I'm going to maybe dive in a little deeper. I'd love to know some statistics on that. But plus 105, you're getting plus money for 2 walks out of a starter? I don't know.
He's got the 7th best MVP odds for the World Series right now. Garcia atop that list, obviously at plus 170. But again, Corey Seager, I feel like we're burying what he did with that home run in the 9th last night because of Garcia's heroics in the bottom of the 11th. So we'll see how that thing plays out. I guess Corbin Carroll would have to be the top Arizona player if you were going to bet any kind of MVP there. All right, everybody, hang out. We got to take a break real quick. On the other side, Julian and Josh will share their favorite college football games on this slate. How Dabo Swinney plans to answer the NC State trash-talking machine.
Welcome back to The Sweat. I'm Josh Applebaum. This gentleman here is Julian Edlow, and it is a huge college football Saturday here. So with 100 games across the board, let's dive into a few of them. Julian, I want to start with Tennessee and Kentucky. Let's go to an SEC matchup here. Tennessee's ranked 21st. They're 5-2. Kentucky's also 5-2, but they're unranked. What I noticed about this one, Julian, is maybe a little bit of movement toward Kentucky. You had some books open Tennessee laying 4 on the road. Some of those 4s are juiced up like it may get down to 3.5, and that's notable to me because the public's on Tennessee, ranked team, laying a short number, yet it's starting to fall a little bit. Also, you have Kentucky off a bye, so kind of a rest versus tired mismatch. Are you going to take the points with Tennessee today, or with Kentucky, or do you think Tennessee laying it is the play?
Yeah, not my strongest play of the week by any means, but I did play Kentucky, and I played them at 3.5 actually earlier. So get yourself a better number. You see the 4 on the board now. I like the spot for Kentucky, and you laid out some of the reasons. We have Tennessee. This Tennessee team is not as good on either side of the ball, I think, as people assumed coming into the season with that 9.5 win total. Joe Milton can make some big plays. He can also make some big mistakes. Defense, not nearly what it was last year. They just put all their effort into that Alabama game, got the lead at halftime, and then collapsed in the second half. Now you're going on the road in the SEC for the second week in a row, and what are you getting? You're getting that Kentucky team that, like you mentioned, Josh, off a bye, just got beat down by Georgia and then lost a home game to a good Missouri team. This game matters a lot for Kentucky. They've been prepping for it for 2 weeks for a rivalry game. I like taking the points with the home dog here.
I'm right there with you, Julian. Again, the fact that the public is all over that favorite, yet we're seeing liability and movement 4, even down to 3.5, as you mentioned, toward Kentucky. I'm with you. I'll take the points there. Let's go to the Pac-12. This is a 3:30 game this afternoon, one of the most heavily bet games of the day. Oregon at Utah. Oregon's ranked 8th, 6-1. Utah's also 6-1. They're ranked 13th. Now, what I noticed about this one, Julian, is, number one, I'd just give a shout out to Matty Humans at VSiN. He likes Utah plus 6.5 here, and I kind of agree with him.
Yeah.
Utah's only getting 44% of bets, yet at one point they were getting 7, and those 7s are down to 6.5. And also, if you look at Kyle Whittingham, here's a great ATS kind of stat for Whittingham. He covers a lot of numbers. In his career at Utah, he's 116 and 93 ATS, 56%. When he goes up against a ranked opponent, Julian, he's 27 and 19 ATS, 59%. So what do you think here? Utah's got a good defense. 7s have fallen down to 6.5. You want to take the points with me with Utah, or do you think Oregon plays well today?
Utah is also fantastic at home, and Utah is fantastic as a dog. So everything we laid out just says Utah. Why I haven't bet this game yet, and if you put the 7 back on the board, I would bet it. I missed the 7 early in the week. I regret that. I want that. But the spot screams Oregon. Like, Oregon needs to get these wins to get into the Pac-12 title game. You just had Utah go on the road, win that high-scoring affair at USC, a game that they were pretty big dogs in, and now they got to come home and prep for Oregon. That's a pretty tough back-to-back. So the spot screams Oregon, but it's too many points with Oregon on the road here. This is Utah or pass for me. I want the 7. If I get the 7, I'll take it because I think that's just too many for Utah with how good they are at home. However, my play in this game, I bet the under when it opened at 51.5. It is way down.
You got a good number on that one now.
What are we, 47.5
yeah,
at
47,
this point?
yeah.
So I'll still play the under. I'm comfortable giving out the under if you haven't played it. When I interviewed Johnny Avello, the director of DraftKings Sportsbook, on my podcast, Unreasonable Odds, this week, he said he thinks it ticks up before kick. So maybe wait. I don't think you're going to get worse than 47.5. Maybe you'll get 48.5. But these two teams, Pac-12 games go over. These two teams are two teams that do rely on their defense, probably the two strongest defenses in the Pac-12. Utah at home has been a real under team. So I think that this is going to be one of those grinders in the Pac-12 when we're used to all these high-scoring games.
Yeah, and to your point, Julian, I just looked at the vsin.com/splits from DraftKings. So you can get all the numbers there. 88% of bets are on the over, yet this line is falling. So that giveaway that looks like a sharp underplay. Julian, the biggest game of today, or at least the most heavily bet game of the day, another SEC showdown, Georgia and Florida. Now, this is a neutral site game. It's going to be at the Jaguar Stadium, but probably a lot of Florida fans there. Now, Florida was getting the hook on the 14.5. Some of these books are now down to 14, so it looks like anytime the hook was available, maybe you had some respected money, take the Gators here. Gators are only getting 37% of bets, but half the money. This is an unranked team versus a number 1 team in the nation. Typically, I want to fade those top-ranked teams. And, Julian, Georgia is only 1-6 ATS this season. They just haven't covered a lot of numbers. Are you going to take the 14, or would it be great if you got the 14.5? Definitely. Or do you think Georgia shows out today and wins by 17?
Yeah, so I haven't bet this game. If I did bet it, I have a feeling that we'll be head-to-head on it because now that we're down below 14, I would lay with Georgia. Georgia hasn't been covering this year, but the numbers are getting adjusted. This was over 3 touchdowns preseason. This was 24.5, 21.5, I believe, before the season. So No, Georgia's not covering, but the market's reacting to that. And now we're getting a discount on Georgia, particularly without their best player, Brock Bowers, who matters, but Georgia can still move the ball. Florida generally does not play as well away from the swamp. I like to back them when they're at the swamp. We had that Tennessee win earlier in the season, some good spots for them. When they go on the road, they got stomped by that Kentucky team that we were talking about. Not that this is a road game, but just outside of their element. So if you're giving me Georgia at 14 or better, that's the way I would lean, but not a game I've bet.
Let's keep moving here, Julian. Duke and Louisville. I have a play on this game here. I like Louisville in this spot. A couple reasons to like the Cardinal. Number one, public's on Duke, 55% of bets. Yeah, we're seeing this line go to Louisville. Louisville opened -4. They immediately got up to -4.5. And then over the last couple days, you saw Louisville get steamed up -4.5 up to -6. So that's notable because, again, public's leaning Duke, yet lines going to Louisville. They're only getting about 45% bets, but almost 60% of the money. This looks like a fade the trendy dog play to me, Julian. Also, you have a team that is off a bye, rested and ready to go against a Duke team that played last week. And this is one of my favorite system matches. We've been doing shows every Saturday this year. This would be that two ranked teams take the home favorite system match. It cashed, Washington against Oregon. It cashed Notre Dame against USC. And last week it cashed Ohio State versus Penn State. So I played the money line earlier this week. It was -185. It's kind of too high now. It's like -230. But when you look at on the spread now, and I'll lay the points because it's too expensive money line, two ranked teams play each other, take the home favorite. It's 13-2 ATS this year. It's 61% ATS since 2016. So what do you think, Julian? Are you with me on the Cardinal, or are you wary that this line's moved so much to Louisville?
I do lean with you. I don't like laying more points than I need to. If I had gotten it early in the week, it's not a game that I'd bet. But like you said, Duke's been in some spots this year, and the quarterback's been dinged up, secondary's been dinged up. Now they got to go on the road to a team that you mentioned is off a bye, but not just off a bye. They just lost as big favorites to Pittsburgh and got embarrassed. They've probably been thinking about that, prepping for Duke. I would lean with you here, but let me get your opinion, Josh, on another one in the ACC that I do have a play on. One of my favorite plays of the day. The number's going down, though. Tell me what you think about NC State and Clemson, because this is a matchup. Seen it a couple years in a row. 2 years ago, NC State upset at home. Bad beat on the under. It went to like double overtime. I had the under in that game. I remember. You don't forget those ones. And then last year, Clemson gets some revenge at home. But Clemson is just, they got to be out of life now with that loss to Miami. NC State, I feel, should care about this game. They don't care that Clemson's down. They'll kick them when they're down. So I think I've showed my hand here. I like NC State. I got them at 10, but I'm good going under that number.
I'm right there with you, Julian. I like NC State here in this spot, too. Again, stinks you can't get the 10 anymore. The fact that the 10 did fall to 9.5, that tells you something, because public, for whatever reason, even though Clemson isn't the Clemson of the Trevor Lawrence days and winning the national titles and playing great, they've taken a step back here over the last, year and a half. Still, the public won't quit them. It's a big name, even though they're not ranked. They're getting 60% of bets, yet, as you mentioned, Julian, they open -10, it's down to 9.5. So why is the line falling to NC State if the public's all over Clemson? Tells me you got some respected money here on NC State. This would also be a rested team off a bye against a team who played last week. So I'm with you. I'll take the points with NC State.
I'll say real quick on that game, too, if you got a college football boost sitting around, if you got a bonus bet sitting around, NC State can win this game. You're getting like 3-1. What is it? It's down to plus, 295. I don't mind going after some NC State money line on this one. This is a dog that can win, I think.
I'm kind of with you, Julian. I'll take the points just to be safe, by the way. But
I'm taking the points, but it's just a little
sprinkle, maybe a quarter unit. I want to get your take on this one, Julian. Colorado UCLA, because this is one of the most fascinating games of the week for me, just because you look at the spread right now. I mean, it's a huge number here with Colorado getting points. But I think it's a big number for a reason. You had a lot of these books, UCLA, I want to say they got down to maybe 14.5. They're back up to 15. It did open up a little bit higher, so I think at the beginning there was a little money here taking Colorado in the points. But here's the thing, 74% of bets are on Colorado. Mm-hmm. What does that tell me, Julian? It's a trendy dog. I want to bet against these trendy dogs. I would actually look toward UCLA here. I know it's gross. They're only getting 26% bets, but half the money. This is like deja vu. Remember a few weeks ago, or toward the beginning of the season, Colorado was getting 20. We did this together, Julian. Mm-hmm. They're getting 21 at Oregon. Everyone's like, you got to take Colorado on the points, got to take them. What happens? They lost 42-6. So it seems obvious. Anytime something looks really obvious, to me, I think it's when you get a little bit scared. I'd actually lay it with UCLA, even though it literally looks kind of gross at first glance.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado is going to be a trendy dog every week. We know that. So it would be lay it with UCLA or pass. Real quick before we get out of the segment, we'll end with this Oklahoma at Kansas game. Kansas backup quarterback Bean, not bad, but Everybody seems to be taking those points with the home dog. I do love home dogs. Kansas has played Oklahoma tough at times. We're getting down to like 8.5 range. We're getting to the point where I would consider laying it with Oklahoma on the road here, to be honest.
I'll still take the points here with Kansas, Julian. You're right. You're definitely not getting the best of the number anymore, but it did open Oklahoma laying 10, as you mentioned, down to 8.5. Currently, the public is leaning Oklahoma. 75% of bets here are laying the points, yet this line is falling. This would be your number one contrarian play of the day in terms of, at this point, your second most heavily bet game of the day. Georgia and Florida is number one. But it's also this one, the second most heavily bet and the most lopsided, only getting 25%. So rest versus tired, I'll look toward taking Kansas for the points. But don't go anywhere. We're going to continue here to talk some college football. Next up, we're going to get Marco's plays and see how he's approaching today's slate.
lot of times you can know the signal and still not do it right. It's kind of the joke we have is, you know what play's coming and you mess it up. And I've laughed with coaches about that before.
In retrospect, or at the time of anything unusual?
No, I didn't notice anything or know anything. Nobody we talked to, warned us or any of that. I mean, I think everybody we play, they say they steal your signals. I mean, we play somebody, they always like they're great at stealing your signals, but what they're referencing is different than stealing them. I mean, they're coming in. If they're talking about people coming to film them, that's completely different. But we've tried to, hide the signals, hold the calls, put signs up, do all that. But I was nothing I remember about the Michigan game that makes me think that.
I mean, the only thing he remembers from the Michigan game is the fact the Bulldogs took down the Wolverines 34-11. That was the college football playoff semifinal at the Orange Bowl.
I remember.
Yeah?
That was a beating.
Did you have any bets on that game?
I had Georgia that game. I don't believe in the Big Ten in big games anymore. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, the way that Michigan has played the last few years, it's like, yeah, guys, you also forgot to steal TCU signs like last season. But like, it's unclear really how long that sign stealing tactic has been used by Michigan. That was Georgia head coach Kirby Smart asked about the matter this past week. So didn't work then, Marco. We'll see if you're backing off from Michigan and maybe some futures bets a little later in this segment. But right now, just your general betting approach on college football Saturdays. Like, what is it for you?
Before I get into that, can I talk about this cheating scandal?
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about it.
I hope this guy is guilty as can be.
Oh!
I want him to be the Bears head coach so bad. I'll fly a jet, land it in Ann Arbor, pick him up, and bring him back to Chicago. I want him to be the coach. I'm tired of sucking. The Chicago Bears need to be made great again.
Is that the vibe, like, around Chicago, or are you the only one who shares that opinion?
People want him there. I get it. We have a new coach, Eberflus. He's not bad. I'm just not.
I think people are out on him already.
You know what it is? Energy levels aren't there. You want a coach that looks into the camera and says, guys, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to execute, we're going to perform, and we're going to be great. And we're going to allow our athletes to be athletes, and I feel like our coach hasn't allowed the Bears to do that. So I want this cheating scandal to be real. I want it to be exposed. I want there to be the Supreme Court involved.
Hell yeah, brother.
But you know what's going to be funny is if Michigan does by chance win the national championship, and it immediately
They're not
gets
going
negated,
to. Come on.
How great would that be?
Yeah, it would be great. You need that energy of a dude just rocking khakis and a polo on the sideline every weekend. And, he's been rumored to be involved, like in past few years, as the Detroit Lions have needed a head coach, and there are also the Vikings there for
Let's
a
not
little
forget,
bit.
He's a Bears fan, and we want him in Chicago. But I'm ready to talk about...
Maybe perfect time to take off from Michigan. Just kind of the Homer Simpson meme, just backing
When you're
into
guilty,
the
you just kind of leave the set. Yeah.
So, like, your general betting approach, like, as we bring it back to Saturdays here for college football.
So when I looked at the slate this week, I didn't love anything in college. The more I look at it, the more I don't like it. But I do see some opportunities for some great spots.
Like, do you have favorite teams that you like to bet on?
I don't have favorite teams. I have favorite conferences.
Okay, great. Like, what's your favorite conference?
So my favorite conference to bet on is the Big Ten. It's very not predictable, but I understand how they're going to play the game.
It's pretty top heavy.
It is. So what I like about the Big Ten is you kind of know. And when you get a good matchup, last week I was on the wrong side of one. I had Penn State when they played. I had Penn State when they played Ohio State. And it's like Penn State's offense disappeared. And I have my L's. I own them, but I ended up winning Alabama later that day.
Same story every year with Penn State. 6-0, 7-0 start. You hit a few of the big dogs in the Big Ten, and then they just crap themselves.
They melt, yeah. Against Michigan and Ohio State, I don't think it's some obnoxiously low percentage they've won there. But so for this week, like immediately what stands out is Oklahoma plays Kansas, right? Mm-hmm. This game can swing in any direction. So if you like Oklahoma and Kansas jumps out to a 7-0 lead, congratulations, you just saved yourself 4 to 4.5 points on that line. If you like their money line, guess what? They're going to be minus 200 instead of minus 360. So what all I'm trying to say here is guys, you don't need to get these games in pregame. You're allowed to live wager, and that's the best part about the DraftKings Sportsbook. It's there. It's ready for you to take it, and as long as you're watching. So here, for instance, what's a game you like this week? Give me one game.
give you one game. I like the Gators covering against Georgia, believe it or not, neutral side in Jacksonville.
Let's just say Georgia punches them in the chin.
I could see that happen.
And the line all of a sudden bounces. No, we talked about it earlier on the show. Our main man over there said, hey, the line was originally 24.
Okay.
And now it's 14. You're getting value. Well, if you like Florida and you're like, you know what, I don't think they're going to start hot, you don't have to take them. And I love that approach. A lot of my biggest parlay wins have always been with a live bet dog. I can go back to Minnesota plus 700 when they came back against the Colts. I can go back to a Kentucky bet when they beat Florida. There's just so many times that I've won huge bets on live wagers. So another approach that I won't lie is when I do bet a dog, I take them plus their points and I take them on the money line too. So I'm taking both. If I believe in a dog, I got to take them both sides. And it's almost like insurance. The points are the insurance. And that's
double or nothing.
I don't mind that. I'm all
Hell,
for
man,
that.
it's worked for you. You're highly successful at this.
I'm happy with it.
I mean, Kansas could be, a trendy pick here. I mean, only if they've kind of figured out that run defense that allows 250 rushing yards in its last 3 games.
I will tell you this. I woke up this morning early. You guys forced me to be here early, and I'm happy to be here. I got to say.
Yeah, well, no, you got up before you came here, and you got a workout in,
You know what?
too.
You got to stay fit.
Slept.
If you're going to bet big, you got to work out
Stop
big.
doing that. Guns are illegal in this studio.
No, really, what stands out to me is I think plus 8.5 in this game is a very trendy good pick. Guys, look at me in the camera. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, lock
if I
eyes
was
with them,
betting
people.
this game, I'm taking Kansas plus 8.5, or I'm going to sit back, wait for a little bit of an Oklahoma lead, and then take them at an adjusted higher point
Okay.
line.
Oklahoma 2-0 ATS on the road, and Dylan Gabriel, who had a successful tenure at UCF gave Oklahoma a scare last week, is now towards the top of the odds boards when you're talking Heisman bets here. So the type of bets you usually make on college football, like huge spreads. You've already said you like the money line, you like to back the underdog. How about like how you're going to approach today's slate? You said you don't like it, so it's a lot of live betting then.
It is. It'll be a lot of live betting. So I'm leaving here. I'm leaving the studio. I'm heading straight to the airport. I'm flying home.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in my man cave. As soon as I get in my man cave.
I love your man cave, by the way.
Thank you,
It's
yeah.
a lot of windows so you get the natural light.
He's
in there.
invited. I just don't know. I think he's banned from Chicago after some prior activity there. You really
We had a
fought
good
hard.
time at the Fantasy Baseball World Championships at Wrigley Field about 4 seasons ago, yeah.
I'm sad we weren't friends then. It could have been a lot of fun.
It could have been a lot of
been a
fun.
lot of
And
fun.
now we've got a sports book there. We're going to hold a little bar there.
Yeah, Wrigley Field,
beautiful.
DK Sportsbook's there. It's beautiful.
So there are going to be games in, I guess, that when you land, you're going to sit back, you're going to chill, you just really want to watch and take in today. And then you say, oh, okay, let me pick up the DK Sportsbook app and actually hammer
And
wins.
so, like, for instance, I'm going to get home. It's probably going to be about 4 o'clock, right? So I'm going to catch the second half of these 2:30 games, 3:30 games. So for me, I want to take a quick peek at this Pittsburgh-Notre Dame game. I've always known Pittsburgh to play Notre Dame tough.
Okay.
And I won't be surprised if they do play them tough here. They're not a great team. They're not complete on either side of the ball. But for some reason, when they play Notre Dame, the team just says, this is our Super Bowl, and we need to perform. So I wouldn't be afraid to put a little action on that game if Pittsburgh's behind. Another one that stands out to me is no one wants to talk about them. And I get it. They're not a very trendy pick. But Minnesota's quarterback is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He's just surrounded
no
by
one
guys.
talks about Minnesota.
You want to know why? Because they're not a
'Cause it's
trendy fun
Minnesota.
pick. It's boring. But guys, unfortunately, you've got a quarterback there that is extremely talented with lack of receiving and lack of O-line. And if they somehow can put it together, they might beat Michigan State by 50 points today.
I will say with Pitt and Notre Dame, you're right about that being close. Last 6 meetings against the Irish for Pittsburgh in South Bend have been decided by an average of 4.7 points per game. So you absolutely nailed that. Thoughts on college football futures right now, especially with the Michigan situation going on?
Oh, God. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, let's go. One shot.
I talked about this yesterday with them. They already know. Now it's time for you to know. Alabama to win the national championship. I want to get an update on that. Do we have an updated total on that?
So, I mean, first
Let's
off,
find it. Okay, it's gone down, damn
Okay.
it. Oh, I can't say that.
Yes, you can.
It's gone
Damn, it's
down.
okay.
It's plus 1,500. I love it. I believe in it, and I'm diving head first. This is a $100,000 bet for me. The remaining schedule is not good. I do not believe in the Iron Bowl this year. I think it's going to be an absolute massacre.
Love it.
I love their remaining schedule, and guys, all they need to do is make the dance. And I got news for you.
Yeah.
Georgia hasn't been convincing this year. They can beat them. And I think if that quarterback can wake up, they're going to do something special.
Right now, Alabama to make the playoff, yes, plus 300, no, minus 400. So they're on a bye week this week, and they've rattled off 6 straight wins after that tough loss to Texas early in the season. Then coming up is that big one against LSU, again, following this off week here. So if Alabama can take care of that game,
They're
in good shape to get back into the playoff mix.
They're going to walk to the playoff as long as they can just do what they're supposed to do against these remaining teams, which I expect them to do. And I get it. Everyone's like, Marco, you got to watch out for that Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Every year it's tough. And I'm not discounting
we've seen
that.
some unbelievable finishes.
Yeah,
lately with the
between
Iron Bowl.
kick returns and
Yeah,
just
dude.
absolute craziness. But guys, I'm telling you, lock it in 15-1. You can't beat that value
Okay.
at Bama.
All right, let's see what you're locking in for tonight's NBA slate coming up after this break, because Wemby is an official winner in the association, turning it on in the fourth quarter in OT last night, leading the Spurs past the Rockets. All right, hour 2 of the Sweat. It is underway. We are very happy to have you here, ladies and gentlemen. Still some NFL high or low to dive into. We'll look ahead to some odds for this weekend and the future, some NHL discussion that we will have with Pete Jensen and Anna Dua over at NHL.com. We'll also give you the latest on the quarterback mess for the 49ers. But right now, speaking of messy, this situation in Philadelphia as we dive into some NBA best bets, not quite sure really what to expect moving forward. So James Harden in this feud with the 76ers, he shows up ready to practice, right? He'd been away from the team for 10 days, wants to board the plane for their opening game against the Bucks. Sixers say, no, not so fast, my friend. I'm sure they didn't call him a friend. They plan on holding him back until after the first 2 games on the road. I think their second one is tonight against Toronto. Now the NBA is looking into if the team violated the new participation policy because, they released that this week, Jules, and they said, the stars have to play on these national TV games. But Harden also, at the same time, kind of smart to show up because with the team turning him around, right? The team turning him around, he gets to keep the money. If he doesn't show up, I think he could get docked and hit for like the $300,000, whatever it is. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most messy. Marco, how messy is this situation?
I think it's a relationship that's past repairing. I've been watching this kind of unfold over the years. When you just don't get along with someone, no matter how hard you try?
Yeah.
You too?
Right here.
Yeah, but the difference this time is that it's somebody that Harden did have a good relationship with Morey. So when it's a broken relationship that was once good that is now bad, it almost makes it even worse, right?
I think either you got to send them both to to Mexico on a little trip together.
There's
3
no
days.
one who would love more to go to Mexico than James Harden right now. Put them all on the banana boat. Come on.
You know what? I just want to see this team kind of put themselves together. For years, they've been right there. And I have a bad feeling that this is the year that everything kind of gets blown up. Embiid gets traded. I really do believe that everything's going to kind of just melt. And I think it's going to all be because of this. And that's really unfortunate.
Okay, before I ask you about the Embiid, the possibility of him being traded here, the Sixers lost by just like 1 point. We know there was Dame time there and there was Giannis. Do they need Harden here to be successful?
No, quite the opposite. I think they need to get rid of Harden to be successful. He's brought them no success while he's been there. He's brought the previous teams that he's been with very limited success. I'll give him one Western Conference final run where they lost to the Warriors in Houston. James Harden's well past his prime. Anything that you can get to absolve yourself of this situation and move forward with somebody who's a better player in Tyrese Maxey right now to be carrying the team at point guard, I'm for that if I'm the Sixers. So moving on from Harden needs to happen. Now, what I think it'll eventually come to is that Morey's going to have to say, look, you have to come play for us for a little so that you have any trade value versus what you have now. Come back, show that you can play, give a little value, we'll move you, we'll work with you, get you somewhere you maybe want to be, and then build this team around what you have in Philly. Because trading Embiid is a talking about the reigning MVP, that is a last result. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Could it get to that? Yes, they keep getting beat down year after year. I'm a Celtics fan. I know the Sixers never win. But it's going to have to take a few more years of that for me to move on from a guy like Embiid.
I get it. I just don't think Embiid's got a ton of years left in him, the way that he plays.
Anytime you can just lose a year or two with those knees.
You look at him, and he's physically he's a special human.
Which we haven't really seen recently, though, Jules. It was more of those first couple years that were very heavy in the injury department. Marco.
He's been managed well lately.
I can give you a little bit of a bold take. Kelly Oubre will be possibly a good 6th man of the year, a little long shot.
Okay.
I've always liked him. He's got a little bit of a bad attitude, but he is a heck of a basketball player. I think he'll come off the bench, and he will have a ton of opportunity to score.
Okay.
But what do you think you can get out of Harden? Like, what do you think you could trade? Like, if you did trade him, what's he worth right now to you?
Because, that's a good point, because you have other teams looking at this mess, and you say, man, this is a guy who's already forced his way out of, like, multiple teams. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to bring him in? Like, he may not mesh well with the locker room. One of those guys who has all the talent, like a Kyrie Irving.
When you're making
spicy.
When you're making a deal, like if you're selling something that you bought, what you bought it for has a lot to do with what you're going to feel comfortable for selling it, right?
It's fair.
They got him for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons stinks. Just keep it moving. Take what you can get. Build around Maxey and Embiid.
All right, well, the next one of the teams rumored to be interested in Embiid's services. There's been a ton, on top of this story, there's been a ton going on here in the first 4 or 5 days of the NBA season. What else has stood out to you? What has been a major takeaway for you, Marco? Your Bulls may have broken the record for earliest players-only meeting in major pro sports
That
history.
was a record.
But
After one game, they have a players-only meeting.
Nobody's harder on the Bulls than me, okay? I blast them all the time. I sit courtside. They look at me. Sometimes I know they hate me, but I just want them to be better. So one thing I do know is they battled back from 17 last night.
Okay.
With 4.5 minutes to go, and somehow won the game in overtime. I'm extremely happy about that. But the Bulls have no future this season. They're not good enough. They will get to the playoffs, but they're not going to be great. One thing I can tell you, though, the Thunder and the Magic, who haven't been good for a long time, are the real deal. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe in these teams, just go and watch a replay and watch how much young talent is on these squads. I mean, the Thunder have this one guy, Williams. He came in place of, what was the one guy's name? I can't think of it, but we're going to move on from that. This guy, Williams, I watched him play live. He is unbelievable, can shoot the ball, can handle the ball, plays good defense. I was overwhelmed with his ability to play basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
You're talking about Jalen Williams.
He replaced Williams as well. It's a Williams replaced a Williams, but I think they have the same name.
Thunder.
Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I think
They're
that
both
is.
named
Yeah,
Jalen Williams.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Thunder's the
rookie
team that
Jalen-
blew out
sorry.
your Bulls, which caused them to have that players-only meeting.
I was just going to say Jalen Williams from Santa Clara was one of the highest risers on draft boards last year. Kind of snuck into the Rookie of the Year conversation.
And speaking of Rookie of the Year, I know that you're kind of high on Wemby after his performance last night. Another slow start to his game, but ends up having a strong fourth quarter, ends up having a strong overtime, and that win over the Rockets. Has that been a big takeaway for you here in the first week?
Yeah, much like Marco's Bulls starting slow and getting it together and getting it done in overtime.
You see Wemby's first game and his debut, the exact same stats, like almost, besides rebounds and blocks here, as Tim Duncan in his debut with the Spurs.
That's special.
Yeah.
I like this.
I mean, we know he's special. He's an alien.
It's special, but these are different players. Yeah, Wembanyama's an alien. He came on strong last night, blocking shots, scoring in creative ways, and helped the Spurs win in overtime. So the Spurs, in certain situations, are going to be fun to back. When Wembanyama figures this out, he's going to be fun to back. Going to overtime last night, fortunately, helped me with the 20-plus points on him, plus 145 prop. Here's the one, this is boring. Here's the one that you want to back in the meantime. Wembanyama turnovers, over. It was 1.5 in his debut. He had 5. They adjusted it to 2.5. Cleared it in regulation last night.
Oh, good for him. Good for bettors.
He still is a little awkward handling the ball, gets excited, throws the ball away. I know it's boring. Wembanyama turnovers is the prop you want to be backing on him right now.
You just
and
want-
the rest will fall into place. Blocks over
Okay.
2.5 blocks, yeah, he'll get that too.
All right. Is there one on the board today? Like a prop today?
Yeah, do you like props? I'm not a prop
You're not a prop
I'm not
NBA
a prop.
guy?
I do sometimes like taking made threes because, as a 5'8" Italian, I love the three ball.
Yeah.
You know?
It just gets your juices flowing.
It does.
So I do love props. I played a lot of props last night. I've been doing well with them this season. Last night came back to reality a little bit. I really love Derek Lively rebounds last night. He went for 15 and 10 in his debut with the Mavericks. In less than half a game, he won the starting center job. What did he do last night? He played 16 minutes. They benched him in the third quarter and never saw him again. So I took his rebounds over. It lost. We got a lot to learn. It's early in the season. If I'm looking at a prop today I'm probably going to just stick to sides in the NBA. If I'm looking at one, and I don't know if it's playable, Ausar Thompson, the number 5 overall pick to the Detroit Pistons, he is off to a tear to start his career rebounding the ball. 6'7" wing, pogo stick type of jumper. If you go back to preseason games, he has had 7 or more rebounds in all of them. He's had 8 or more rebounds in 5 of the 6. His rebounding prop today crept up from 5.5 to 7.5. That's a big jump. You're getting plus money on the 7.5. But he's still gone for 8+ in 5 of 6 career games if we're counting the preseason here. Playing on the back-to-back, going against the Bulls, right? Yeah, Pistons Bulls. So that's where I would look. Thompson rebounds if I'm going 1, but not as good on the prop board today. Maxey would be the other one. Maxey points, rebounds, assists. He's been filling it up for Philly.
Okay, so you're not a prop guy. You got a game bet then that catches your eye right now in today's slate.
I'm piggybacking a little bit. I am a huge Pistons backer today at +1 against the Bulls.
I agree with you.
I just think people don't believe in this team yet. I think Detroit's lines are still, you're getting a lot of value for them. It was 1.5 when the show started, and it's down to 1. So I still like it at 1. I think if you can get plus points, you're living here. Again, this is another live wager spot. Either team can jump out to a lead. So if you're a Bulls backer, if the Pistons jump out to a 6-7-0 lead or a 7-point lead at any time, you're going to get value. So again, live wagering. I'm preaching it. I'm trying to push it into people's heads. I love it.
Pistons have beat the Hornets as dogs and lost to Miami by 1 as almost double-digit dogs. Pistons were a trendy team to take the over last year. People are generally a year early on this. Cade Cunningham didn't play much last night. Foul trouble. Fresh for tonight off the back-to-back. I agree with Marco on the Pistons. The 2 games I bet, I just hammered them. The Philadelphia 76ers for everything they got going on. Love the Sixers tonight. Toronto's on that back-to-back playing overtime in Chicago. They go back home. Sixers have been waiting there for them. They played the Bucks tough. They've had plenty of time off. This is a matchup that I think the Sixers put it together and look very good. Other one, I'm going against a back-to-back team again, the Pelicans. Played well in their debut, beat down Memphis. They're at home. Knicks coming off the win over the Hawks. Go to New Orleans, play a really good team. And, we could always get the injury news. We wait. Guy sits out on the second leg of a back-to-back. You wind up with a better number. So I like getting ahead of those. I like the sides. You could like them even a little bit more if you get, I don't want to say rest anymore because the NBA doesn't allow it, but somebody ruled out on the back-to-back.
No rest for you.
No rest for you.
76ers Raptors.
Pulled my back on the plane.
Yeah.
76ers Raptors, one of the lowest totals on the slate, 260.5. Knicks Pelicans, one of the highest, 225. All right, let's poke back over to the NFL for a healthy dose of high or low. Will it be Sam Darnold to the rescue for the 49ers? All right, everybody, back here on The Sweat, where we return to the NFL discussion for some high or low. So are the following odds too high or too low? And we will start. It's very easy, all right? We made it very easy for you to follow along here, and everybody at home as well. Let's start with the quarterback situation and its impact in San Francisco. So Brock Purdy made considerable progress. He's been in concussion protocol, made good progress in his recovery. On Friday, he practiced with the team. As of early this morning, is expected to clear concussion protocol and start against Cincinnati this weekend. Right now, 49ers minus 500 to win the division. Are those odds too high or too low, Jules?
They're too low. To be honest, it's a buy low spot on San Francisco after a couple of losses. I get that Seattle is decent. I can't see the Rams and obviously Cardinals coming away with this division. And we still have plenty of San Francisco and Seattle head-to-heads, which San Francisco won not 2, but 3 times because we include the playoff game last year. The Niners are still going to run away with this division despite these recent hiccups, despite the lack of ability at the quarterback position. They're just too talented everywhere else. So am I going to go lay minus 500? No, but if you're building a division parlay mid-season with the way things look, you can include them in there. I have them from minus 150, I think, preseason to win the division. Fine sitting on that. This was up well over 1,000 recently, so I'm not wavering from the Niners ultimately coming out of this division. They're too good, and they're too good specifically against Seattle head-to-head.
All right, but Marco, nobody wants to give Seattle like much credit here. They could lead the NFC West by tomorrow if the 49ers lose to the Bengals and Seattle beats Cleveland at home.
I'm the biggest Geno Smith hater in the country.
Oh. Why
if the
is
guy
that?
met me, I might have to hire a security guard.
Really?
That's
Why
how
is
bad
that?
it is.
He screwed you in the past.
You know what it is? Well, he's costed me a couple very large parlays last year. But it's deeper than that. He's been a backup his whole career.
Yep.
And I just don't believe in his ability. And I think he had one hot year, and I think everybody just dove head first.
He did, yeah. And then Seattle's like, here's all this money.
And I still think everyone's diving head first. But I mean, I don't know here. I think that the line at minus 500 is
Fair.
I would never take a 5. I would never bet a minus 500 personally. Would
right.
you?
No. That's a lot of juice.
I'm not saying to bet it now. I'm just playing the game that it was recently 1,000. I don't think there's a good chance at all that they're going to lose the division. So pricing-wise, I think maybe it's at a discount if you're. Let's say you're going like Lions, Chiefs, Niners, or something for even
I like
money. That type of idea.
All right, too high here, too long, these odds?
I think it's a little bit high, minus 500. Now, number one, from a betting perspective, I'm kind of with you guys. Not much, especially if you're a bet to risk versus bet to win better. Think of it this way. If you're putting down a unit at minus 500, you're not getting much back in return here. So I don't think there's a ton of value based on the number. And I also think, injuries are decimating this team, whether it's your offensive lineman, whether it's Deebo Samuel. You're now starting to get injuries with your quarterback. To me, I respect Shanahan, I respect the system and the culture, but if these injuries continue to stack up, to me, I would be very wary of laying a minus 500. You look at the adjusted win totals, guys. Seattle is 9.5. The under's minus 125. 49ers are still 11.5 juiced up over. My angle here is let's actually isolate Seattle and just take Seattle to make the postseason as a wild card team. I think it's definitely doable. They made it last year. They have the 12th man advantage. Again, Geno actually has maybe found something here last couple of years. Minus 175 Seahawks to make the postseason. That's my way to play this.
All right, let's get to Falcons and Titans here because you're a Will Levis guy, and Will Levis could potentially be under center. If they officially announced that, Mike Vrabel,
the guy.
He is the guy this week. Lowest total on the board at 35. Marco, what's the move here? Is that total too high or too low? You said Levis won you a lot of money back in his college days last year, years prior, but he's in the pros now. Breaking news.
I'm not on this total. I don't want to sit here, look at you, and say I like the over or the under here. I just like Tennessee plus the 2.5 in this game, and that's where I'm at. I'm going off of what I'm supposed to say, but I got to give you the truth. I can't lie.
Okay.
I'm not a liar.
Will Levis's recent breakup with his girlfriend does not have you concerned at all.
It is confirmed reports that him and her are no longer together, and he might want to come out strong.
That's what I'm saying.
So maybe
this is why you're missing, baby, and just toss darts all day long.
So maybe the over.
Too high or too low for this total?
Yeah, I'm not a liar either, so I can't say that I have much of a take on this game, and that includes the side almost. Obviously, Marco's confident in the Titans. I lean to the Titans. I'm not a Ritter guy. It's going to be maybe one of the softer pass defenses Ritter has seen, but you don't run very well on Tennessee. We'll see if the Falcons even want to play Bijan Robinson, but I got to pass on the total. I have no feel. We're getting the first look at a new quarterback. We got another guy in Ritter that's newish and makes a lot of mistakes. I have no idea.
But Desmond Ritter has been profitable, Josh.
He is. He's a winner. He's actually 6-1 to his over passing yards so far this year, which is a shout out to the VSiN prop analyzer tool from Jason Lattice.
I like that look here.
Could be worth a look there. I would just mention to you, Marco, you're going to like this if you're going Tennessee. Mike Vrabel, as a dog, 60% ATS in his career. Vrabel off a bye, 5-0 ATS in his career.
Sign me up.
This has been a good spot.
Sign me up.
It's so Belichick-esque.
If you can get a 3, Emerson, I'll take the 3, but I think it's a great teaser play, 2.5 up to 8.5, go through a couple key numbers. I would just mention with the total, it's so low, it feels like you got to go over, but it opened 38, it's down to 35.5, 45% bets, 76% money's on the under. Both these teams rank in the bottom 8 in scoring. Unders are 61% this year, non-conference unders 67%. So it's always funny to me when people are like, oh, this line's way off. It's like, no, the odds makers are really good at what they do. They're really smart. It's low for a reason.
I mean, the highest total on the board's what we're seeing at 47 currently between the Dolphins and Pats, but I want to look at this spread here. The look ahead got up to -13 for Miami. Great game by the Pats and maybe a poor game by the Dolphins. Now we're looking at all of a sudden a 4-point swing, 4.5-point swing. It's now 9.5, this spread here. So, Marco, overreaction to what we saw by both of these teams and their performances last week?
Nobody is better than adjusting than Bill Belichick. I believe the line's just right. I think people are diving in on the Dolphins, and I get it.
Yeah.
I think proceed with caution. The last time these teams met, Dolphins only scored 17. And it was an ugly game.
And they took away Tyreek Hill. I think he had a short touchdown.
It was a Sunday night game,
Yeah.
and it was ugly. I watched it, the whole thing, and I thoroughly believe that the Pats will cover this game.
Okay, Josh, what do you think here? The Patriots are in a similar position last week, but they were at home when they were like 9.5-point dogs. Now they're 9.5-point dogs on the road against this Miami team, which we've seen how dangerous they could be.
Yeah, I'm with Marco on this one. I'll take the points. It worries me just a little bit in terms of Pats off a big win, Dolphins off a loss. Typically, you kind of want to go the other way and buy low on the team that didn't play well versus the team that did. But to the point of the market, it has moved toward New England. Again, you had some look-aheads, early openers like 12, 10. Now it's down to 9.5. I think if you like New England, wait until tomorrow. It's juiced up a little bit, like it may get to 10. They lose by 10. You want to push that bet instead of lose that. But I'll just mention this. It's really difficult, in a division matchup, when you play the second time to blow out that team, no matter what it is, no matter what the division matchup, because you have so much familiarity. I like the Patriots to keep this thing close. It worries me that Mac Jones in his career is only 4-13 against the spread as a dog, 24%. Obviously, he had a great week last week. I would just mention Pat's adjusted win totals 5.5. I like to go over that one, Emerson. I think they win 6 games.
Look, they snapped their 4-game losing streak, and all of a sudden you're just all
back
hot
in
and
it,
bothered.
Emerson. But they play Commanders, Colts, Giants, Chargers, Broncos, Jets again. I think you get to 6 wins.
We're in Patriots country. I want to
Yeah, that's
caution
what I'm
everybody.
saying. All right.
They're all Pats
I'll go the
fans
other
here,
way.
okay?
I was just going to say Miami is tied for a league best 3-0 ATS at home.
Don't worry. If we need some negativity around here,
There
we got
he
me.
is, you curmudgeon.
Anything under 10 is too low on this game, and here's why. Obviously, Josh mentioned the spot. Yes, you want to buy on Miami after a win, sell on New England after, buy on Miami after a loss, sell on New England after a big win. Patriots historically, obviously not very good in Miami. Here's the thing. Everybody wants to look at the first time these two teams played. Look how tight the Patriots played them on defense. You know what they did? They rushed Tua with Matt Judon. Out. They shut down Tyreek Hill with Christian Gonzalez. Out. How are they going to do that this time around? The two cornerstones of how they won that first game defensively are not playing in this game. Bill Belichick's going to have to figure out a new way with J.C. Jackson, with another pass rusher to get this done. I don't think it's going to work. I think Miami is going to win this one by double digits. I think if I really wanted them to get to 8 to 8.5 so I could use them as a teaser leg. Doesn't look like we're going to get that.
They've got around like a 4-touchdown margin of victory at home as well. They've done some nasty things to opponents down there.
If it got to 8.5, what would you tease it down to?
6, so you go to 2.5.
Okay.
Through the key numbers
'cause
there.
I didn't know if you were doing a larger teaser.
Nope, I generally go 2 legs, 6 points, -120, so you get
And never
Miami
tease through
8.5.
0.
Never tease through 0.
All right, we're on
All
the
the
same
key
page.
numbers. You go
Yeah.
from the 8.5, you get through 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, all the good ones.
We're on
All
the
right,
same page.
very quickly, because we have less than a minute to go in this block. Just Bijan Robinson, his rushing total sits at 48.5 joules. You mentioned his name earlier. Like, what do you do with this guy after that weird situation last week?
Can't touch him. You would maybe lean the under after
At
the weird
49.5
situation.
now.
Weird situation, and Tennessee, really tough run defense. We mentioned the pass funneling there, and maybe playing a Raider over on the passing yards. I can't touch it. We need to see what role Arthur Smith is going to give him after that weird situation.
He might have been grounded, like a kid at home.
It sounds like it. You put him in
Didn't
there
look like
for
he had
one
a
play.
headache.
And we got 20
All right.
seconds, but before we break,
No.
I can't say anything. I gotta say
Say
it
it.
fast.
What-
Seattle's not making the playoffs. Look at their schedule.
No, okay.
Look at their schedule.
All right, we're putting this show on ice
said
coming
it.
up, baby. Teams are streaking, or should I say we're streaking. How hot teams will remain hot coming up next. Back here on The Sweat, everybody, where we are lucky enough now to be joined by the dynamic NHL.com duo of Pete Jensen and Anna Dua. Good morning to both of you. So you guys, we're going streaking, baby. This season marks the first time in NHL history, not one, not two, but three teams started the year 6-0. That was the Bruins, the Golden Knights, forget that, Stanley Cup hangover, and the Avalanche, who, by the way, just set a league record for consecutive road wins at 15, although that streak ended on Thursday against Pittsburgh. Still, Anna, let's talk big picture here with the Avs. What's been the biggest reason for their early season success?
I mean, they added a lot of depth to their offense. They really helped support their big guys up front. The Avs currently have the most shots on goal per game in the entire NHL this season with 36.3. So you're seeing that they're firing on all fronts. Everyone knows how good their blue line is. And the Colorado Avalanche have always been a Stanley Cup contender ever since they became Stanley Cup champions. And this year they just continue to prove that. And I'm not too worried that their streak was snapped because I think they're going to be a very, very competitive team this entire season.
And Pete, a majority of their games up to this point have come on the road, have they not?
Yes, that's true. And one thing I wanted to shed some light on here, we talk all about Sorokin and Shesterkin and Ottinger, but who has been better? The answer is nobody in terms of wins over the past two regular seasons combined than Alexander Georgiev. It was a stealth pickup by Joe Sakic, and that's what he does, right? That's the name of his game. They won the Stanley Cup. They had to manage the salary cap. I love the bargain contract, Ryan Johansson. He's been fire so far this season. Anna mentioned it. Their defense in terms of offensive productivity is second to none. Georgiev's a beast workhorse. And then, you have that luxury of being able to spread out McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen onto separate lines because Mikko Rantanen is probably a top 5 player in the NHL fantasy or reality because of his versatility, goal scoring ability. So this team is stacked. And I would personally love to see a collision course between the Golden Knights and the Avalanche in the Western Conference Final this year, a rematch from a couple of years ago when the Golden Knights ripped their hearts out.
And Georgiev plus 1,300 for the Vezina right now. 5th best odds on the board on the DK Sportsbook here. Hey, even after the retirements, though, of top centers Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, the Bruins were off to their best start in franchise history until the late third period meltdown against the Ducks on Thursday night, giving up 2 goals in the final 2 minutes. Still claiming the overtime point, though, here, Pete. What's been the biggest factor powering Boston to this strong run out of the gate?
I've been really impressed. I mean, so much of the talk this season's been about Connor Bedard, and he's been up to the expectations, even though a little decrease in points and shots on goal in recent games. But Matthew Poitras is as productive as any rookie out there so far. 5 points in 7 games with 3 goals and a nice, healthy shot volume lately as well. And it's a young blood player on the second line that is stepping in and filling the void left by Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. I mean, that was an enormous situation that I personally didn't know that the Bruins were equipped to handle, but credit to their minor league system, their prospect pool. They found a guy to integrate, and this guy looks like he has some staying power in fantasy for the rest of the season.
And Anna, the Bruins outscoring Bedard and the Blackhawks 6-1. 6-1 in their 2 games this season.
They've impressed me a lot. I think we all expected them to take a step back, and they started out the year not doing that at all. But I think this team, beyond even just like the rookies that Pete mentioned and the top-end talent of David Pastrnak as well as Brad Marchand, their third line has really impressed me as well this season. Like Charlie Coyle has 3 points in his last 3 games. James Van Riemsdyk has been a sneaky player to start off the year for this Boston Bruins team. And when you're seeing their third line be that productive, you know that they're trying to balance out the offset of all the loss they had this past offseason, and they're doing exactly that. And their goaltending tandem as well. You got to give them a shout out here.
Yep.
Like, they're playing well. They started off the season really hot, and that's been a big reason why Boston's been able to be so competitive.
And they share that bro hug together, right? After every win. People love to see it here in Boston. Who, by the way, Red Wings soaring into Beantown today. Also coming off a loss, though, Detroit is. 2 teams currently atop the Atlantic. Who you giving the edge to, Anna?
I gotta go with Detroit, unfortunately. I think the Red Wings are just red hot to start the season, and Boston getting handed that loss, I think it was just a loss they weren't expecting to get in that particular game. So maybe it takes them a little bit of time to just get back on track. Not going to take too long. A player I'm specifically looking at in this matchup has to be Dylan Larkin. He's red hot to start the season, but last season as well, he had 4 points in 3 games against the Boston Bruins. So he likes playing Boston, and I'm expecting him to have a big night in that game.
All right, Pete, who are you looking at in this game today?
I mean, you got to gravitate towards some Red Wings with the offensive productivity they're putting forth. Shane Gostisbehere, I was personally critical of this signing. I didn't think it made much sense, but they're going with 2 defensemen on power play 1, and the Ghost looks like that incredible season that he had with the Flyers many moons ago. He is tied with Cale Makar as of Friday for the NHL lead among defensemen in points with 9 in 8 games, and 6 of those points have come on the power play. So ride the hot hand with Gostisbehere. And then, yeah, I mean, if you want to spend up for DeBrincat and Larkin, pretty much other than Jack Hughes, who's lighting the world on fire for New Jersey right now as a one-man show, I mean, this is the best duo in the NHL to date. They're both Michigan kids. They came back home. The juices are flowing, and they're really scoring with the best of them right now. And DeBrincat, off-season mover, credit to him, leads the NHL in goals right now. Pretty incredible.
And Anna, I feel like it's every other day you're tweeting out something about Jack Hughes and his incredible performance so far this season, right?
He just keeps impressing me. Like, what can I say? The guy's on a heater, his words, not mine, to kick off this year right now. And he's definitely, like, if Connor McDavid is missing extended time this season, he's earned himself a serious consideration in the Hart conversation. There's nothing I can say beyond what we've seen from Jack Hughes. The guy gets like 4 points, 3 points. A 3-point night is an off night for Jack Hughes, and that's everything you need to know.
Well, I mean, speaking of scoring, we got 9 games on the slate today. Anna, which one would you target for stacking?
I got to go with the easy answer, and that's the Vegas Golden Knights and the Los Angeles Kings game. LA has the most goals per game in the entire NHL right now this season with 4.5. Vegas is top 5 as well, tied for 4th in the category with 3.86. So both of those teams have a lot of pieces that put up a lot of shots on goal, a lot of goals, a lot of just offensive productivity. So I'm definitely looking at that matchup to have some stacks in my lineup.
All right, Pete, thinking one could be high scoring, so it makes sense for stacking today?
Right. I'll go with a more sneaky matchup here. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Anaheim Ducks. So one big component for Anaheim, make sure that Leo Carlsson is playing. They're doing kind of like a load management, performance enhancement type of thing with him, where they're sitting him in certain games and then having him out fresh whenever he plays in the lineup. He looks as productive as any rookie out there. Potra, Bedard, any of these guys. He's got 3 points in 3 games, had a multi-point game against the Boston Bruins. Couple of nice road wins for the Ducks this week, so start to take them a little bit more seriously in fantasy this season. Also, another rookie, Pavel Mintyukov, maybe a bargain type guy in DFS, playing on the first power play and getting some points left and right here. And on the Flyers side, Sean Couturier is back, healthy, two-way force. I love that player in his whole career. It's great to see him back healthy. And then they also have certain guys like Travis Sanheim is a beast on the blue line. He's better than a point per game this year. He's top 5 in the league in time on ice per game. First power play. Tap into some of these guys when everybody else is spending up for the superstars out there.
Pete, what about a forward, another forward who catches your eye for DFS purposes? I see Sam Reinhart is riding a 5-game goal streak right now. That's hot.
Yeah, the Florida Panthers are doing a nice job, not only withstanding some of the injuries they're dealing with, right? Ekblad, Montour, they're still banged up from the Stanley Cup final run. Matthew Tkachuk entering this game, still without a goal, but I still think that he, has some bounce back appeal, but they're still working it, right? Like Reinhardt's been incredible. Off-season value pickup on a 4-year contract for really almost nothing is Evan Rodriguez, and he's been, point per game player so far with 21 shots on goal through 6 games. So if you're looking at like some of those hot starters on the Panthers, chances are like lesser roster percentage will be a guy like Evan Rodriguez, who's flying under the radar right now.
All right, Anna, what direction you want to go in at forward?
I actually might spend up at this position, and I usually give
Yes.
sneaky picks, but I got to give some credit to my hometown squad, the Toronto Maple Leafs, right now. Guys, they're usually not an October team, but they're looking like an October team this season. William Nylander and John Tavares, specifically on their second line, are two players I'm looking at. Nylander has a point in every single game this season on a 7-game point streak to kick off his year, 11 points in that span. Tavares as well, 11 points in the first 7 games, and last season Nylander had 2 points in 2 games against Nashville, so pretty much a point per game player there. So I look to see both of those guys keep going in this one.
All right, you two, enjoy your weekend. It's a weekend, by the way, that includes the Heritage Classic tomorrow. I know everybody is very thrilled with Nickelback performing for the second intermission, Anna. They are Canadian, so, you know, you guys enjoy the show. And hopefully McDavid's good to go, ready to rock, happy and healthy. Rock stars, your job here is done. We're breaking out the crystal balls next, looking into the future as we wrap up a Saturday edition of The Sweat. All right, final block here of a Saturday edition of The Sweat. Do not worry, we will be back tomorrow morning, all NFL, on an NFL Sunday, Week 8. That'll be 8 to 10 Eastern once again tomorrow. Marco, it's been fantastic having you here, so let's bring it home strong. We're going to break out our big, beefy crystal balls here as we see into the future here. Which futures bets that you guys like? What is wrong? Are you okay?
I'm fine. I'll tell you after.
My beefy pick is the Ravens to win the Super Bowl.
Really?
I really like
All right,
it.
We're going straight to your NFL future here. You like the Ravens?
It says,
to win
what
the Super Bowl?
futures do you like? I see futures.
We were going to
I'm
start
gonna-
NBA.
That's
We're talking
that's
NBA?
okay.
It's all right.
He's our guest. We do
Your
what makes
guest.
him happy.
Let's go NFL, then NBA.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
listen to the narcissist at the table.
Yeah. Damn right. All right,
NFL. All right, go.
So why? Because we were just talking with Billy behind the camera here too. How good like Lamar has really looked, especially like the past few
He
weeks.
wasn't talking to us much, but
Yeah, I know. He's going through something. Anywho, why do you like the Ravens right now? To win
I
the
think
Super Bowl?
they're a complete team now, and with the new offensive coordinator, he's kind of showing Lamar the way, and I think he's saving him from a lot of big hits, and I think that's going to prevent some injuries. Last year, if you remember, Lamar didn't play in that playoff game in Cincinnati, so I think that if we can avoid him getting hurt, I really like them to go far.
So
I could see it.
So there we go on the board behind you, plus 1,400 there to be the Super Bowl winner.
Plus 700 to win the AFC.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not sold on the Dolphins. I'm not sold on the Bills. The only team that I feel like
I
have
get
to
not
trust.
being sold on the Bills, and then like you're not sold on the Dolphins because of like what we saw like against Philly last week.
Who
That
the
was
Dolphins beat?
Yeah, no, it's
this
a
is
good.
true.
Who?
Philly was my favorite NFL play last week. Every time they play a good team, look at the Buffalo game, similar spot on the road, 2.5 points, get smoked.
Okay.
So Ravens are at Kansas City, AFC Championship game. Ravens +3. What do you think? How would you play that game?
I
At
can't,
Arrowhead.
I'll say first, I
That's
think
a tough place to
I think
play.
you're getting more than 3 in that game.
I bet
Probably
you're getting
so.
4.5.
That's
What
a
did,
good guess.
what did the Jags have in that divisional game that they should have won last year? It was like 4.5 or
8.5.
something. No, it
4.5.
wasn't.
Get out of here.
Kidding me? Are you kidding me? Stop.
I'm diving
Stop.
head first on the Ravens in that game. I believe it, and so Chris Jones stops. He's able to stop runs up the middle. The Ravens just like to run outside the tackles. I just love the idea of them moving around, throwing the ball around. I think the Chiefs are severely overrated. I think they're great, but I don't think they're going to be as great as they were last
Zay
year.
Flowers has been an incredible addition for Lamar, rookie out of Boston College. Right now, do you have like a Super Bowl winner? Could just be a conference winner, maybe an NFL future you really
I
like?
sold it short. 9.5.
9.5.
dogs.
That's what
Kansas
I
City.
said. I said 9.5.
Call me out. Get out at 3.5.
So
I'm going to start betting with you.
Yeah, please do. I'll take your money.
I'll switch it up and look toward NBA future. If we can go towards some basketball here.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So Celtics to win the NBA title are plus 390 right now. Again, pretty good payout here, but he lost a lot of value. I think they're closer to like plus 500 before all those trades came down over the summer. But I was looking on the DK different options here. What I found was the Celtics to lead the league in wins. Just have the most wins. They don't have to win the title. They just have to have the most wins in the regular season. That's plus 205. Obviously, your competition here would be Milwaukee Bucks, Denver Nuggets. Nuggets, though, kind of that hangover or kind of second year after a championship. Bucks have some older players, maybe some injuries. I like the Celtics to have the most wins in the NBA this year. Their win total is 55.5. It got hit to the over. They have a bunch of good assistant coaches now after Missoula. We've seen already Porzingis, if he can stay healthy, he looks great, as well as Drew Holiday. Brown and Tatum will take them as far as they can go, but at plus 205, I think this team could approach 60 wins. I'll take Celtics to have the most wins. This year.
I look at the Celtics here, Jules, and you're a big Celtics guy. Like, I don't think the 1-2 punch is Tatum and Brown anymore. I think it's Tatum and KP.
It's going to be night to night, and they'll admit that. That's probably what they want. Brown last night, great spot, by the way. You want to talk props. Jaylen Brown went for 27 last night. His point prop on DK was 19.5, all because he had 11 in the opener and Porzingis got all that love. His prop on a consistent basis last year was 24.5. He was plus 270 to go 25 plus, and he got there with 27. So keep an eye on that one. Jaylen Brown in certain spots is going to be slept on. It's going to be different guys, different nights, and I ultimately believe that at full strength, the Celtics are the best team in the NBA, so I won't argue with Josh there. Problem's going to be the motivation, not motivation, but the consistent presence in the regular season. They're not going to run these guys into the ground. Tatum's a guy that plays night after night, but the rest of the way, we got to see how much these guys play. It's all about getting into the playoffs healthy, being able to take care of Milwaukee, being able to take care of whoever's there in the West.
You're not worried about your defensive five? Because I watched it live last night.
Yeah, it's true.
It
Yeah,
has
you were
hole-
sitting courtside last
Yeah,
night.
so it has holes. I'll agree with that. I think Porzingis is going to be a better rim protector than people thought. He had 4 blocks in the opener against the Knicks. I think he impressed a lot of people. I think they need to be able to adjust to who they're playing. Milwaukee plays bigger. Maybe you're going to put Horford and Porzingis on the floor more together.
Fair.
What I will say, and I think Tatum ultimately, I believe when he wants to buy in, can be one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Where I don't have questions is the backcourt. Derek White and Drew Holiday together are fantastic.
Amazing.
The front court they have to figure out. I think if they play it right, matchup to matchup. So, like, if we're giving out an NBA future, I just think that the Celtics, again, they're off to the 2-0 start. The number hasn't moved at all. I think you're going to get very close to this number entering the postseason. I want to wait for them just to see them healthy. I don't care if they're the 1 seed, the 3 seed. If they're not healthy, pass. If they're healthy, bet them. That's what I'm waiting for.
Tatum for MVP at plus 700.
I've got a little divisional
You're going to say the Magic,
long
aren't you?
shot. I am.
Yeah.
The Magic
Heat
two have
aren't
been
the same.
You two have been bonding over the Magic and commercial breaks.
Yeah, him and
here.
we're gonna have to stay away from each other because honestly,
I'm on some Magic over.
Can't wait
Magic-
to see you guys at Amway Arena here.
yeah, the Magic at plus 600 seemed like a
Let's
great
go to
deal.
a Magic
You
game.
and courtside at Amway.
Hey, you get a good deal on courtside in Orlando,
Yeah,
let me tell you. There's not many
can.
people wanting to go to Magic
you
games.
can.
But maybe now, because they're plus 600 to win a division. The Heat are minus 165. Put a big X on that. They're not going anywhere. The Hawks, they're always like that. They're plus 250. I kind of like the third favorite in this, the Magic at plus 600.
I thought the Hawks might be the team that snuck in there. Now they're 0-2. They generally get it going late. Atlanta will get it together more. That was my team in this division. I got them over 41.5 wins, be better than 500. I think they can still get there. Disappointing start. But Orlando, yeah, that was a team. Over 36.5 wins before the season was a gift. We can see what they are live now. They're 2-0. They started 5-20 last year and then proceeded to finish the year 29-28. They're an above 500 team lately.
It's crazy.
Plus 145 to make the playoffs. Orlando Magic.
Really?
Wow.
They're gonna have to get some.
145,
They'll
yeah.
probably be
That's
in
a
that.
sign.
They'll probably be in that
there.
play-in bracket,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to get a big win against like somebody who has experience, maybe even the Heat there.
Yeah, they're gonna do it.
I don't hate it.
So going back to college football now, and Marco, you mentioned in terms of futures, you like Alabama to make the college football playoff right
I
now.
do.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be your college football playoff like future then.
Yes, sir.
And then what about to win the national championship? Also Alabama still?
I like the ride the wave at the 15-1. I really like I like Alabama's schedule to get
I mean,
there.
they cannot lose the rest of the
You
way.
can't tell me that you
Big
don't.
LSU game next Saturday night.
Yes.
If Saban just gets to the dance, do you want to play him? Yes or no?
No. Here's what they have to. Here's the one thing. So if you're betting plus 300 to make the college football playoff, they're gonna have to beat probably an undefeated Georgia team in the SEC championship game.
That's the only game they're going to have to win.
LSU could be a little bit of an issue, but my only point here is if you like them at plus 300 to make it, do you maybe wait and play them plus 220 against Georgia in the SEC title game just to know they don't lose before then, rather than go, now you're doing like a 4 or 5 game parlay. Not that you mind parlays. But then you're looking at one
Wow,
game.
look at that. You had that locked and loaded.
I
ready
didn't
to
know.
go.
That just
Real
came to me.
tasty.
I'm natural. But you're looking at only needing to win one game and still getting a really good price once we get to December 2nd when that game is.
And that's totally fair. I like getting it in now because I just love the idea of getting Nick Saban over 10-1. He's 15-1
Yeah.
to win it all.
I don't disagree.
And I just can't turn that down.
It's like betting against Belichick.
I'm going to
You know,
have to
a
go
little
home and I'm going to have to lock that in. I'm just going to have to get that in there.
Okay.
Real quick Bama note before we go to No Sweat Bets. When they just snuck by whatever it was, USF, and didn't
That
even
was
play
right. That was when
Milroe,
they were like flip-flopping quarterbacks trying to feel it out.
their in-season win total was 8.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I've never seen it that low.
Okay.
I didn't bet it. And I have them. I have
What
a
is
Bama.
it now? Do we know?
It's got to be 10.5.
All right.
I bet them before the season, or 10.5 probably
Yeah,
juiced.
under minus 145 though.
Yeah, bet them before the season minus 170 to miss the college football playoff. But I'm kind of with you.
No sweat bets. Your
I know
favorite
what it
bet
is in
for
town.
today or this weekend, Marco? Go ahead.
You know what? I want to go last.
No, you need to go first.
Right
You
now?
got 1 minute. You got
Go,
like
we
10
have
seconds.
30
All right, guys, my best bet, my no sweat best bet is Broncos +7. And if you're feeling yourself and you've got the courage,
Money line?
the money line.
Oh, yeah! It's spicy. Go
Will
ahead.
Taylor Swift be at the
I'm
game?
going NBA for Saturday. I usually go college football. Lay in the points with the Sixers tonight.
Okay.
In Toronto. Toronto back-to-back and overtime.
Josh?
Louisville, lay the points.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are like 4-1 ATS since Miss Swift has entered the picture. That's a
Betting
show,
against Taylor
everybody.
Swift.
We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Thanks, Marco, for hanging out with us. Let's go.
Been a pleasure.